And I'm back again. This is Mrs. Santana here at Dr. Cano Freshman Academy. I'm going to be going over the algebra review for the final exam, which is part 3. I've already done part 1 and 2, so if you haven't seen them, look them up on my YouTube channel. Number 23 here, let me go ahead and get started. So on number 23 it says, the Spanish Club sent its members on 5 field trips during the school year. The number of buses needed to transport the member of each trip is a function of the number of members who went on each trip. The function consists of only the ordered pairs 21, 2, 51, 3, the ordered pairs 75, 5, 92, 7, and 125, 8. What is the range for this situation? So if you think about it, these are ordered pairs. That means those are points. Normally we're probably used to seeing points written in a T-chart. So if you really wanted to, you could put these ordered pairs on a T-chart. And remember that range, if you think of Dora, the ra part or raw part would be the range, and that would fall here. So it'd be do, domain, ra for range. So it'd be your y values. So if you were to list these ordered pairs on your table, then your range, which is what they wanted, which are your y values, would be these numbers here. I'm going to go ahead and highlight them for you. So these numbers are your range. You would need to list them in order from least to greatest, so 2, 3, 5, 7, 8. Okay, they're already in order, so let's look for a good answer choice. Here we go, 2, 3, 5, 7, and 8. So the correct answer is D. Okay, so range is your y values. Look for those keywords. Number 24, it says the table of values for the quadratic function g is shown below. So this is a table for a quadratic. Remember that quadratics are your U-shaped curves, your parabolas. The question is, if -9 is a solution to g of x equals 0, then what is the other solution? In other words, if we were to graph this quadratic, one of the solutions would be at -9, which would be somewhere over here. The question is, where's the other solution? Like, where would it cross? Would it cross here? Would it cross here? Is it upside down? I mean, you could graph this in your spreadsheet app and then do a quick graph. Or we could just look it up. Because think about this solution would be -9, 0. So notice the g of x is 0, okay? And that's what they said. So if you look for g of x 0, I see another one right here. I see another point that looks like this coordinate point. And this happens to be the other one. So in other words, the other solution would be way out there where -19 is. Okay, and I have to continue going in that direction. So there's your answer, -19, which would be C. Now, some of you might want to double check, and what you could do is literally, basically, go to spreadsheet, get the equation for this. I'm going to go ahead and clear everything out before I do that. We could just type in the table, maybe get the equation, and then remember solution is, I wonder if it'll let me type it like that, g of x. It doesn't like the parentheses, more than likely. I'm just going to call it y, because that's what it would be. And I'm going to type in these coordinate points, -25. Let me look at my numbers here. There we go. So I'm going to go over here to the spreadsheet, type those in. It's -25, -23, -21, And you could do this with me as I'm doing it. You can practice. So what I'm doing here is I want to see what the picture looks like, but more importantly, I want the equation, because once I have the equation, then I can take it to the graph app. I could graph the quadratic in the graph app, and remember there's a menu option that's called 0. And 0, which is also called a root, it is also called a solution. And that's what they're asking us for, the solution. And so we could literally just go find 0, and that's the solution to the quadratic. Alright, so I'm going to do, let's see, let's do a menu quick graph. So menu data quick graph. Put this to the x-axis, this to the y. There's your quadratic. I'd want to get the equation, so menu 4, 6, what is that, 4? Okay, it's a pretty crazy equation, but you can see the power of 2 there. At this point, I would go to the graph app and hit the up arrow and hopefully find, maybe I need to hit the down arrow. No. Well, let me see. Why is this not giving me that equation? Must be doing something wrong. Alright, well. Let me I wonder if there's a way that I can see. I was hoping that when I went to the graph app and hit the up arrow, I know before I've done this before, and usually it copy pastes that equation in there. Well, anyway, you kind of get the idea that you would take this equation, put it in the graph app, and then once you have it in the graph app, then you would do the menu 6, 1. Okay. Sorry that didn't turn it out the way I liked for it to have turned it out, but we've already got the answer, so I'm okay with that. So you can try it, see if you can figure out what I did wrong. That would be a good thing. And maybe come by my room, let me know. Alright, so let's look at question number 25. Number 25 says, what is the solution to the system of equations below? So this is a different, I know some of you in math camp, you're like, oh, it's a solution, that's a Xerox. No, not when it comes to a system of equations. A system of equation is 2 or more equations. Okay? So and notice you do have 2 here. So you have 2 equations, and what you're looking for is where the 2 equations intersect. So this is not where the lines cross the x-axis. Okay, that's solution. You know, when we were teaching you about Xerox, the solution was for your quadratics, because they do use 4 different words that all mean where they cross the x-axis. So we call it a 0, root, x-intercept solution, but this is not a quadratic. If you graph these, you're going to see that they do create linear functions. And I do need to go ahead and type them in to kind of show you. So 4x plus 2y equals 2. There's one line. And then you want to type in the other line, 3x plus y equals 4. And right here is your answer, where they meet. So I'm going to do a menu 6, 4, because that will give me the intersection, and that's what I need. That's the solution. These 2 lines cross, and I need to know where they cross. So at 3 and negative 5. So if you look at your answer choices, it says B. The ordered pair 3, negative 5 is the solution. So in other words, these two lines, they seem to be crossing or intersecting at 3, negative 5. And that's what the solution is. So notice, it was not where the two lines cross the x-axis. It is where the two lines meet that is the answer. So be careful with that. I don't want you to get confused. I know some of you seem to be confused about that. That you think every time they use the word solution, it means where it crosses the x-axis. And that's not what we meant. So I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. But hopefully now you understand. Alright, number 26. Which expression is equivalent to, and again, they give you this expression and they want you to pick the correct equivalent expression. We could graph this out. We could use define. I'm going to go ahead and go to Graph App. Seems to be a good candidate. It's got one variable in it. It happens to be an x, so that's a good candidate for the Graph App. And I just don't need to use relations. I just need to type in the expression right after the equal sign. And what I'm looking for is which one of these will give me the same picture. So notice I did get a quadratic. See if we can find our answer here. Let's try the first one. I'm going to hit the tab key and type in answer choice A. I am going to put a time symbol between the two sets of parentheses in case it needs that time symbol. Okay, that's definitely not it. Notice the two pictures are way different. Those are not equivalent. Equivalent means they would have to have the same graph. So that's not going to work. So let's try answer choice B, 2x plus 2. And then times x plus 2. Okay, that's not going to work either. So I'm going to delete that one. Try answer choice C, 2x minus 1 and x minus 4. Nope. So I guess this is D. Let's hope it is. Either that or there's another mistake on this. 2x plus 1 times x plus 4. Times x plus 4. There you go. Blue turned to red. So I found the expression that when you that would equal, which happens to be that one right there. And if you did the tic-tac-toe, you would find out that these are your two factors. Okay? Alright, so let's look at number 27. 27 says, the table below shows the amount of calories burned while rowing. So they give you the time, minutes, and then the calories you're burning. What is the rate of change represented in the table above? So another word for rate of change is slope, and you need to know that. Those are the same exact thing. Slope is, if you were looking at an equation, the slope in this type of equation, which we call slope-intercept, the m would be your slope, which is also your rate of change. So we could put this in spreadsheet, and we could get the equation, the linear function, and find out what this number is. You could also use a formula. I know that back at the beginning of the year, we did actually use the slope formula, which is this formula right here that I'm writing down. M equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And keep in mind, these are your x values. So I usually like to label the first one as x1 and this one as x2. These are your y values, so this is be y1 and y2, which means first y, second y, first x, second x. So you could plug in those numbers to solve for your rate of change. It would be 24 minus 12 divided by 10 minus 5. So our rate of change would be 12 over 5. And this is representing the Y's are the calories, so it's representing calories per minute. So I'm going to look for my answer choices here. Looks like A would be the correct answer choice. Now before I pick that, I would definitely want to use a spreadsheet to double check my work. So even though I did that by hand, remember last time I made a mistake, so I'm going to show you how you could have spreadsheet this table. 5, 10, 15, 20. So 5 doesn't take that long. It's worth getting the 3 points because this final exam you're going to have 33 questions, so 3 points each. I want my 3 points. Okay, so let's go with 12, 24, 36, 48. Make sure those numbers are correct. Okay, so now we do a menu. I could go to statistics, straight to my equation, 4, 1, and then right there, there's my M that I need. Here it's asking me where I typed my X list and where I typed my Y list. This is the one. See, now I caught my mistake from earlier. Earlier I went to menu quick graph, and then I was hoping it was going to store in F1. But see right here, it's telling me save my regression equation to F1. So you can't use quick graph. Don't do what I did, otherwise you won't be able to hit the up arrow. But here's my M right here. So my slope is 2.4. So see, now if I went to the graph app and did the up arrow, boom, there's my equation. Okay. So now I know what I did wrong. It's always good to learn from your mistakes. Now, they have a fraction. My answer that I got was 2.4. So all I have to do is go to Scratchpad, take the 12, divide it by the 5, and see if it gives me positive 2.4. There it is. Control Enter. I've got my answer. So this equals the 2.4, and that's exactly what I got when I used the spreadsheet. So check. I'm pretty confident the answer choice is A. Alright, so next question is number 28. It says, what is the x-intercept of the graph of y equals 2/3 x plus 5? Alright, so x-intercept, I know what that means, and I hope you do too by now. It has to do where it crosses the x-axis. So this is a picture of what's going to be a linear function, mx plus b. So somewhere it's going to cross my x-axis, and that's the number I'm looking for. So it's where line crosses the x-axis. That's why they call it an x-intercept. Being intercepted by the x-axis. Should be an A there. Alright, so let's see where this crosses the x-axis. I'm going to use the graph app for that. Another reason I use that saying, when in doubt, graph it out, because this would be a prime example of a question that we can graph and find the answer by looking at the graph. So here's my x-axis, and this is what I'm looking for. I'm going to do a menu 6 one, because remember that in the calculator they don't call it x-intercept, they call it a 0, which is another word for x-intercept. Boom, there it is. So it's at negative 7.5. It says record your answer field. So this I would want to record on my Gridable. So it's a negative 7.5. I would bubble in. Now make sure you put the negative on the Gridable, and then you would want to bubble in the 7, the dot, don't forget your decimal, and then the 5. Okay? So I'm just going to draw the picture here, what it looked like. And I'm going to put a little dot right there. It was at negative 7.5, comma 0. This is the number they want. You do not have to put the comma in 0. There's no way you can put a comma in this Gridable. So really all they want to know is where does it cross the x? It crosses the x at this number. So that's the only answer you should record on your Gridable. I know that some of my students are trying to put a comma in the Gridable, and there is no comma. You cannot put a whole coordinate point. So they just want this number here, okay, the x number. So the next question is number 29. Looks like it's a scatter plot. And I might need to zoom into this. Let's see, let's try that again. Really small print. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can get this a little clearer. Alright, so the scatter plot shows the relationship between the distance that students traveled to get to school and the number of times those students were tardy during the school year. So distance traveled to get to school and the number of tardies. I wonder if there's a relationship. Well, it doesn't look like there would be. I mean, logically, I don't understand, but maybe the further you live, the more tardies you have. I don't know. It doesn't look to seem to have some kind of relationship. I kind of see dots a little bit scattered all over the place. Usually you'll see dots kind of tightly going upward, and that would be like a positive correlation. Or you might have your scatter plot coming downward, but again, the points would be kind of closely together, and this would have a negative correlation. Or your points are like all over the place, which seems to be what's happening here. So I'm going to look for an answer that says that there is no correlation. And I'm going to go through my answer choices. A student who travels 1.5 miles to get to school will be tardy 9 times. Okay, there's no way that I can know how many tardies you're going to have by the distance traveled. So, no. A student who travels more than, 3 miles to get to school will be tardy at least 7 times. Okay, no, that's not even logical. Here we go. There is no correlation between the distance a student travels to get to school and the number of times a student will be tardy. That's the answer choice I'm going with. Okay, so there's no correlation, which means there is no way that I can determine how many tardies you're going to get by how far you live from school. Alright, so number 30, let's move along. Which set of ordered pairs contains points that are on the graph of the function? So here's some ordered pairs, and they want to know which answer choice will have points that are on this function. And y equals mx plus b. Okay, that's going to be a line. So I'm going to go ahead and graph this line. And I'm going to probably look at the table. I can look at these points on the table. That'd be the easiest way. I could also plot the points using M11. But I'm going to go ahead and look at it this way. So 1 is a 2 according to this. And so that's out. How about this one, 3, 12? Let's try answer choice. Okay, I see a 3 and a 12 together. What's the other one? 7, 32. Let me scroll down to 7. Ah, that seems to be right. 9, 42 would be my last answer I need to look at. And you want to look at all of them, and it says it should be 9 with 42. Looks like we found our answer choice. There we go. These ordered pairs are on this linear function. Okay. So again, you could use a table, or you could also plot the points. Make sure they're on the line. If it's part of the table, guys, they're going to be on the line. Alright, next question. What is the equation of the line? So they want an equation of a line that has an undefined slope and passes through the point 8 and negative 10. So where have we heard undefined slope before? Well, slope guy. Think about it. Slope guy, he has a positive slope. So this type of line would be positive slope. This type of line going down would have a negative slope. Then you have his nose, which is called a vertical line, would have an undefined slope. And then his mouth would have a slope of 0. So this line is what we're looking for. We're looking for a vertical line, because those are the ones that have the undefined slope. Now you could add to slope guy a couple of things that I think next year I'm going to add, which is I'm going to put a little band-aid right here on his forehead Because these types of lines, their equations start with an X, and then there's an equal sign, and then there'll be a number here. And I'm also going to start putting a little goatee on him. It kind of looks like a Y, because these type of lines, the horizontal lines, they start with a Y equals, and then they'll have a number here. So I'm looking for an equation that has an X equals and then a number. So I know it's not A, and it cannot be C. So now I need to check these two, and I also need to check to see which one of these two lines has that point on it, because it says it has to pass through this point. So let's start with B. I am going to need to use relations. You cannot just type the number here, because remember, this is the same as Y equals. This is not X. I know there's an X here, but there's also an F in front of it. So this is F of X, which is a Y equals. So I've got to hit delete and use relations and type in the X myself, equals -10. I'm going to try -10 first. Whoa, so it's way over here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay, so there's my vertical line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot the point using menu 811. I'm going to open the parentheses, and I'm going to type in that point they gave us, which is 8, -10. 8, enter, -10, enter. And it is not on the line. You see how it's over here and the line is over here, so there's no way that this line passes through that point. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to double click on this, and I'm going to change it to the other equation. So I know it's not this one, it's going to have to be this one, but let's make sure. So I'm going to change that to an 8. You see how it moved from here to here, and now the line passes through that point. So there's your answer choice. The best choice is D. Okay. Kind of trying to show you how you can think things out. You guys have learned a lot this year. Final exam is just going to prove how well you've learned it. So let's look at number 32. It says, if f of x equals 7x plus 21, what is the value of f of 2? We had a problem like this earlier. There were two ways that I showed you how you could do it. One, you could plug in the 2 for the x, so this would be 7 times 2 plus 21. You would have to use order of operations, which is PEMDAS. You would want to do the multiplying first. 7 times 2 is 14. And then add 21. So 14 plus 21, that gives you what, 35. Now you could double check by using the Graph app and then do a Control-T. This is the other way that I showed you how you could do this. And look up your answer on the table, because think about it, this is your x, which is a 2, and we want to know what this number would be. And we figured it would be 35, but just to make sure, I'm going to go ahead and graph it. Go look at the table, Control-T, and I'm going to go look up, oops, did I type it in wrong? 7x plus 21. 7x plus 21. I'm going to look up the 2. There it is. Perfect. 2 is 35. So again, when you plug in a 2, you get 35. So I have double checked my work. I'm going with A. And last but not least, you also have learned this year what quadratics are, all the parts of a quadratic. So you are being tested on that. So they give you a quadratic here. They want to know what are all the different parts, and they have them listed here. You could graph it, because they did give you the equation for it. So I could also use my calculator to help me identify those parts. So let's do that. Negative x squared minus 4x plus 12. Okay. I'm going to probably just fix this number. Maybe go to 20. Okay. So now I've got this picture similar to what I'm seeing here, and they want the vertex. Now this happens to be a maximum vertex because you've got this upside down U, and you've got a high point at the very, very top of it. So that's called your maximum vertex. And so whatever the coordinates are would be the vertex. So the highest point is at -2, what is that, 16? So -2, 16. Now we could have the calculator find that for us as well, just to double check. So menu 6, 3, click and drag, boom, there you go, -2, 16. Next question, what's your axis of symmetry? Okay, axis of symmetry is that dotted line that would split this right down through the vertex. So it always goes right through whatever vertex it has. But it's this line here that we need to find the equation for. Now, if you think of slope guy again, going back to good old slope guy, he does have a line that we just talked about but 2 problems ago that looks like a vertical line, and that's what this axis of symmetry is. So if you think about it, for next year I'm going to put a little X that looks like a band-aid on his forehead because I know the equation starts with an X equals. And then there's a number attached to that. And notice that it is going through a -2. So there's your number. X equals -2. Now I could have the calculator give me that to double check. So we do have an option under menu 6, 8, and there's your words axis of symmetry, and then just click on the line. Boom, there it is right there. X equals -2. It drew a little dotted line. Okay. Now the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So if you look at the picture right here, this is our y-axis, and this is the point that is crossing, where our graph crosses the y-axis. So it's at 0, 12. Now, we also can use the menu 5-1. Notice 5-1 is your tracer. And usually the first point it gives you is the y-intercept. And if you go off the y-axis and back on, you'll see the little yellow sign pop up. So it is 0, 12. The coordinates are down here. So I'm correct on that. So 0, 12. They want the point that is symmetric to the y-intercept. So in other words, remember this quadratic has symmetry, so this point is 0, 12. What's the point across from that on the other side? That's what they want. And that would be -4, 12. So that's what they mean by point symmetric to the y-intercept. And then last but not least, we need the x-intercepts, which are also called zero roots and solutions. They're Xerox. So right here happens to be my 2 x-intercepts, because this is where my graph crosses the x. So one of them is that, what is that? It's -6. So -6, 0. And the other one happens to be at 2, 0. And again, you could find these in the calculator as well by doing a menu 6-1. Calculator calls them zeros instead of x-intercepts. So there's one of them. I'm going to do it again to find the other one. There you go. And I am correct again. Double checked. So I hope this review was helpful, and I wish you the best of luck on your test. Oh, I need to finish Slope Guy here. Let's get the little goatee. I need to add that next year. But anyway, good luck to you guys, and I hope you've had a good year. And good luck next year as well. But I really would consider watching this video before your final exam. Good luck next year. Signing off, Mrs. Santana.